Mindset Mashup podcast. Here we are, and I think this is going to be the last one of the year, actually. So whoever's just rocked with us this year, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us. We actually got to top 200 in the UK for entrepreneurship, which is crazy. Videos are going viral on YouTube. Lots going on. So if this is the last podcast of the year, I just want to say thank you to everyone supporting and showing love. I love you guys back. And keep following. And this is going to be an interesting one. I'm intrigued about this one, and I just want to welcome to the podcast Shannon Collins.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So, Shannon, let's go back. So I know you've got a business. You got a couple of businesses, in fact. I know that it sort of started for you, I believe, in the beauty industry. Is that right?
Yes.
And now it's taken a turn into a paranormal world, I believe.
Correct.
So
Correct.
For those that might be listening, including myself, I can't say that I'm too familiar with that world. Can you just explain a little bit about that paranormal activity world?
So basically, I belong to a group called Long Island Paranormal Investigators. And what we do is we go to different haunted or places that claim to have haunts on the island and off the island to see if we can validate any of these claims. But we definitely go in and try and find a scientific reason for certain things occurring. So there could be high EMF, which would be electromagnetic fields that could cause hallucinations and stuff. There could be all sorts of different things that can cause different things to happen, but spirits can also use those things, manipulate those things to manifest and create occurrences to happen. So that's what we try and figure out.
That's crazy. I'm already intrigued. And we're gonna go there. But before we get into that, so you've started a successful business in the beauty industry.
I did.
So always like to ask. I love speaking to entrepreneurs. I love entrepreneurs. I love everyone, to be honest. But entrepreneurs, they interest me. So first of all, what made you want to go down that route of doing it on your own?
I had worked for somebody for many years, and I really enjoyed working for them. But I started to begin to feel like I needed to do something more for myself. I didn't want to feel like stagnant in a position someplace. And I felt like if I kind of opened up my own place, I could really expand and grow and, continue on with my education and have other people come in and continue education and help grow them into whether they wanted to stay with me or just build and move on. That's really what I was hoping to do.
How long have you been open?
So I've had my salon, I believe it's 6 years.
6 years. Nice.
6 years.
As you reflect on that journey of 6 years, so is it coming to an end? Is it coming to an end now? Are you moving in? Are you transitioning into something new, or is it still hybrid?
No, I still very much enjoy doing hair, and I love my clients. So it would be very hard for me to just walk away from it, but it has slowed down a lot. Not because of this, but because of everything that happened with COVID really affected my business. So.
So obviously this podcast, we talk about mindset a lot. So during those times of adversity, those challenging times, how was it for you? What was your mindset like at the time? How were you dealing with it? How were you creating new ideas on how to boost your business back up?
So during that time, it was actually very hard because I had built up my business and I was doing really, really well for myself. I had a small studio salon. I did have one girl working under me. And so when we had been forced to shut down, it was like, well, what do we do now? I couldn't go to people's homes and do their hair. It was out of the question at the time. So I began to think of how I can reinvent my salon. Like I've always been into paranormal stuff. I'm into the witchy stuff. I'm a medium. So I've wanted to kind of bring my two worlds together. So I slowly started to transition the look and vibe of my salon. And then And that's kind of what kept my mindset positive at that time, because I was just looking at the future and I wasn't really looking at the moment now. Because if I had just stayed in that moment, I don't think I would have ever got out of bed.
I think that's an important message, isn't it? To be fair, Shannon, because I think often we operate from where we are, and that's not always where we're going to finish. You know, sometimes,
Right.
most of the time, not sometimes. Often we have a future. There's things, and sometimes when we operate where we're at, as you said, sometimes you don't want to get out of bed, and we've got to push past that. And sometimes you got to function as if in the vision, not where you are. So I completely agree with that. So let's go on to this paranormal activity stuff because I feel like I'm very new to this. So when you're speaking to me, Shannon, please treat me as a beginner because
Sure.
I've got absolutely no idea. So you said that you've been into paranormal activity for a while. How long?
So, my whole life I've been into the paranormal because, well, my dad really got me into it. Um, but I had a lot of experiences as a child due to being a medium. So I was
What does that mean? Because I don't know what that means. What does being a medium?
okay. So that means that I can communicate with spirits. I can see them as if I'm looking at you, and sometimes I see them as if it's like a memory, but I'm able to communicate messages from them. So um, when I was little, I didn't really understand why nobody else could see them. And people tried to say those are just your imaginary friends and stuff like that, but they never went away.
And
And
are
they were
they the
always
same?
different. No, they were always different.
Oh, they were always different. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So why is it called a medium?
That is a very good question. I
If
should
there's
have
not an answer, it's cool.
know
I'm just wondering.
that.
I'm
No,
curious.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is an answer to that. Why is it called a medium? I think
We can Google it
maybe,
later.
yeah, maybe it's because you're like the in between
I like that.
the living and the non-living.
That
Yeah,
makes sense. That makes sense. So, what sort of ages did you start? When's your earliest memory
my
of paranormal activity?
my earliest memory, I was 7 years old. Um,
Wow, was that
yes.
scary? Well, it must have been scary.
It was scary. I was sleeping and I had been woken up from a dream. I remember that my great uncle had passed away, and in my dream, I had dreamt him on the playground outside, and he was swinging on the swing, and he was laughing this laugh, and I'll never forget. It sounded like the Joker and Batman, the Batman with Michael Keaton, and so
Even freakier.
yeah. So it scared me, and it scared me out of my sleep. And I still remember it was like 4:22 in the morning or something like that. And I saw a man standing in my doorway, and I had been sleeping with my bedroom door open because I was a kid. So it freaked me out. I thought it was my grandfather, who was at the time still alive. So I couldn't understand. And you pull the blankets over your head because that's the most powerful protection ever. So it felt like an eternity. And then when I had pulled them back down, he was back in my doorway, and he kind of just like waved goodbye. And I had mentioned to my mom, grandpa was at our house this morning, and I don't know why. He came in my room and he said hi. She's like, no, I
So she was
think that
freaked out.
she was. She tells me now I really freaked her out. When I was a kid, I would say a bunch of stuff, but I think that maybe it was my great uncle. And I didn't really know him like super well, but I think maybe with the dream and that maybe he was just coming to say, hi. I don't really know, but that's my earliest memory of
So
that.
obviously that you said that was like super scary, freaky. So when did you start to understand that this is? I don't know what to call it. Like, when did you understand like this is like typical for you? When this was like fairly
Right.
normal for you?
I think it was a while after that, because I didn't really tell many people after that. I kept it to myself. I maybe told my sister, who's always been very supportive of me. She's actually sensitive also, so she gets it. So I would talk to her and my dad about it. But I would say probably when I was in my early 20s.
Wow,
Um,
it's a long time. So
yeah.
why why do people get? Why do some people, you use the word sensitive, so why are some people sensitive to it and some people aren't? Is it a case of like belief, or like do they do or they don't believe in it? Or yeah, tell me.
I believe that everybody is sensitive, and I think others are just more in tune to it. I feel that um, everybody has a moment where they felt a certain kind of way, like they shouldn't go somewhere, but they went anyway, and they were like, "Oh, I should have listened to my gut," and things like that. Or I just have a feeling something bad will happen, or something good will happen. I don't always want to go negative with it, so maybe they feel like something great's going to happen, and something happens. So I feel like if people just meditated more and kind of took the outside environment out of their mind, they'd be able to connect more with spirit.
Why meditation?
Meditation relaxes you, it calms your mind, so you're able to focus more. So if you have a million things jumbling through your mind, you're not going to be able to pay attention to the things that are in between those things.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I am familiar with meditation. I was just wondering how it could support this activity, paranormal activity. So I'm thinking about something that's come to my mind, and I hope you're not offended. So as I explore this with you, and as I said, I'm completely new to this. I've never really had a conversation like this with someone before, so it's quite cool, very intriguing. And how, because you said a word, I don't want to make it sound negative. That's what you said. So I'd imagine this can get quite a negative response from a lot of people.
Yes.
So
Okay.
you seem like a fairly positive person. You've led a very successful career.
Mhm.
So do you feel this is a positive or a negative impact on your life?
Both. I
Explain that.
it's a positive impact for me because I feel like I could help spirits move forward or get their voices to be heard. Also, I feel like I am helping people who maybe have a spirit in their home or something, and they need comfort and closure and stuff like that. So I feel like that's the positives of it. The negatives of it is part of why I wrote my book, because you can get attachments, you can get
Attachments to the
spirit attachments. So like
really.
a spirit would attach to you as a person, and then that could be very draining. And that doesn't, you don't have to be a psychic for that to happen. It can happen to anybody. So it could be a lot. It's very heavy sometimes. You
So,
don't really know what you're asking to communicate with. So you're just it's so our founder of our group actually had a really good analogy the other day, and I loved it. So it's kind of like fishing, right? So you're throwing the line out there. You don't necessarily know exactly what fish you might get or if you'll even get a fish. So you're kind of just waiting to see what happens. So sometimes you might get, a nice little tasty fish, and sometimes you might get, like, I don't know, a jellyfish, I don't know, or a
it's fine.
shark.
It's fine. Don't worry. I don't know about fish either. So you could say
Me either.
you could say anything right now. So um, it's interesting. And you used the word psychic earlier,
Yes,
just a second ago. Why did you use that word?
that's just a broader term for more people will understand the term psychic than they will any of the other terms. So there's different variations of psychics.
Yeah, because when I think of psychic, um, I think of like That's So Raven on
Yeah.
the Disney Channel a little bit. Do you know that like seeing into the future sort of thing? But that's not what you're talking about, is it? Or is it?
Well, that's not what I do, but
Okay.
there are people that do that. Yes.
Yeah.
That would be
Okay.
like premonitions. I don't have, very rare do I have, I've had them maybe a handful of times. I mean, that was usually when something really big was going to happen to my family. It's almost like they gave me a heads up. So I appreciated that. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay. 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 So you mentioned your book.
my book.
What's the title of your book?
It's A Dream Within a Scream, a collection of automatic writings from spirit attachment. This is my book here.
Bring it down just a little bit. There you go. It's a cool image.
Yeah.
That's is that you? Is
It's
that you in the image?
me.
Yes, you in the image. Cool. So, okay, so you're obviously congratulations, by the way. That's an
Thank
amazing,
you.
amazing achievement. How long's that taken you?
Well, I was about 2 years of writing the poetry, and then I linked up with my very good friend Brimstone, and he helped me get it published really, really fast. Actually, it took maybe a month
Wow.
for it to, you know, all come together from just the talkings of it to the final product, maybe even less. I will say, if Brimstone says he's going to get something done, he gets it done. He's definitely a great person to have around.
Yeah, no, listen, he's why you and I are in touch. So like this,
Exactly.
so no, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for that guy. He's opened a few doors for me, in fact. So very
Yeah,
grateful.
he's
So talk to me about the name. The name is very interesting.
a dream within a scream.
Yeah, very good name. Talk
Thank
to me
you.
about that.
So, I actually, my friend Tom O'Connell helped me come up with that name, A Dream Within a Scream. It is my name on Instagram, uh, because he knows what I do. And when I went through a lot with the paranormal stuff, I was kind of like, I just want to scream. I feel like I'm dreaming, da, 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 da. And he was like, I got just a dream within a scream. And I was like, oh, yes, yes. So that's just kind of like my tag thing.
And
But
do you know what's interesting? Like you said earlier, like positive and negative, and I really appreciate your honesty with that. And I feel like that says that quite nicely as well.
mhm,
Was that intentional?
yes.
Yeah. So what? Where do you want this to go? Like where do you want this book to go? How do you want it to impact people?
I want it to go everywhere. I want people to read it and be able to connect with it. The spirit that I had picked up on, these are all of her feelings,
Also, is
and
this about one in particular?
one particular
No
spirit.
way.
Yes.
What that's like?
Um,
What's that? That stayed with you for a long period of time.
yes, she's still kind of attached with me, but it's just not as strong as it was when I initially encountered her.
Okay. So
um,
you
yeah.
want it to go everywhere, and how do you want it to speak to people?
I will say they're very heavy poems. They're very emotional. So anybody who has lost love or is in love or anything like that, they might be able to connect with it. And it doesn't have to be like a lover. It could be a family member, a friend, even themselves, if they feel like they've lost themselves, the love within themselves. And it's to see that they're not alone. Other people do feel these things. And hopefully, if they see that, it gives them hope to keep going, and maybe they can write out theirs and they can come up with their own poems. Like, I would love to read that. I'd love to inspire people to write out their emotions.
What sort of poetry would you call this?
It's very dark poetry.
Dark poetry.
um
So would
yeah.
you'd want people to write dark poetry or any sort of
No,
poetry or
anything.
any
I
sort of
do
poetry?
have some I do have some happy lovey poems, but this is from her. This is her experience, so it's very dark, it's very heavy. um
And are they
she
negative? Are they negative experiences?
Some of them, yes.
Okay. Which I mean, that's not bad. Like a lot of poetry is about negative. It's not. I mean, when we think of poetry, don't we often think of these like
The
lovely, like
heartbreaks,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But it's not all like that though, right? There, a lot of poetry is. It can be dark. It
Right,
can maybe not paranormal activity dark, but maybe a
right.
heartbreak, maybe something like that. So I don't think there's any problems with that at all. And how so? Okay, so how has it gone from experience to book?
Okay, so when I channeled the spirit, I I kept having these repetitive thoughts in my mind, and I had, like I said, I had always written poetry, but these just wouldn't go away, and I felt like, okay, I have to get it out. And when I went to go write it out, it just all like, so that's why I call it automatic writing, and that's something that a spirit can do. Also, they can use you to as a tool, basically, to write out their messages. So
So
I put
at
her
this
feel.
point, was it you've used the word automatic writing there. So are you doing this? Obviously, you're conscious,
I'm conscious,
which is good.
right?
And then you're just basically, are you sort of like having thoughts, or is it just like I'm just writing and
So basically, automatic writing would be, so technically it's okay. So basically, automatic writing would be you would get like a paper and pen, and you would just kind of like close your mind off and meditate, like I said, and just write whatever comes to you. It's
okay,
whatever's coming to you.
okay,
Sometimes you don't even feel like you're writing anymore. You feel like you don't even have control. You might not even realize that you're even writing actual words because you're not really looking at it. You're just kind of focused, eyes closed, honed in on it. This is a little bit different. I call it automatic writings because it came to me that way, but I didn't write it out that way. So it was coming through
okay,
my mind that way. I would be anywhere when it would happen. So I would take out my phone, I would write it in the notes section, and I have poems that are like paragraphs long that it took me 5 minutes to write. So that's why I say they're automatic writings. I would just kind of take whatever she was telling me she felt and put it into the words. So
cool. Can you
yeah,
give us can you give us a couple of lines?
yeah, sure. I'll do a happy one.
It's up to you. I don't mind. I don't mind whichever one you feel is like stands out to you. I'm interested. I'm intrigued.
Okay. I don't know. Okay. And now I've buried you deep within my biggest secret, my worst sin, never to escape the caverns of my soul, echoing through the chambers of my heart, grasping a hold of each of my cells for all control. Never will we be able to part. Memories of you will replay in my head over and over until I'm dead. Even then, you're attached to my ghost. I was never your friend, just a lovely host. And that's just one of the shorter ones. There's other ones, better
So
ones. That's not
no,
a favorite of mine.
no, that's very good though. That's very,
Thank you.
very, very well written. So, are you talking about this from your perspective?
It's her perspective, but in
But
mine
you're
too. Mine too, because
that's
I felt what she basically. I went to a location as Shannon Collins, and I left there as this lady from the 1600s.
okay, right. So let's talk about that. So tell me about this. Tell me about this spirit.
So I don't know her name. She
Okay.
won't give me her name. I believe that
So you said 1600s.
yeah. So I know the time period from what I saw in my images in my mind. Um, she was in love with a man. She was married. He was married. They were not supposed to be together. I believe that they got caught. And when they got caught, obviously she took the brunt of it, and he did not. And he kind of just left her to deal with it. And he did his own thing, moved on with his life, and remarried and all this other stuff. And so I feel she felt left behind. When I saw her, she showed me herself with no nose, like they cut off her nose to spite her face. So a lot of times, like when you're doing psychic work, a lot of things come through imagery and stuff like that. There's certain symbolisms that represent certain things. Well, if you look into why somebody would have their nose have cut off, especially back in that time, it would have been for adultery, and things like that. So Native Americans would do it, and some of the English settlers that came here learned to do that from the Native Americans. And so I don't know, was she Native American? Was she English? Was she? I have no idea. But because all I saw was her with no nose. So that was it. I don't know where I was going with that.
I was just asking you. What can you tell me about? Can you tell me about? Can you tell me about her? That's
Yeah,
so it was
sorry.
1600s.
Yeah, she was just very
Potentially
emotional.
potentially committed adultery, or
Yeah,
100% committed adultery.
yeah, she did.
What else? Why you? Why
So
you?
I believe that, why did she pick me? I believe that she felt that she could connect to me, that I would be able to understand her, and that because of what I do, and it was my own fault. I was sitting in their living room and of the place, and I said, I can understand. I want to help you. I wish just communicate with me. Tell me, show me what happened to you. Because here I'm thinking it was somebody else. I didn't know that it was her. So I didn't know that she even existed at that point. So I'm trying to communicate with the wife of the gentleman. And so and it hit me like a ton of bricks. It scared my group. And they don't scare easily, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they
So
don't. But why did it scare? So why did it scare the group?
they said that they saw a change in me. My face changed. My eyes looked different. My demeanor was different. They thought I was going to hurt myself.
Oh,
They wanted to pull me out of the house because they felt like if they took me outside, maybe it would cut a cord or something and, it would stay inside. I don't know, but it stayed with me. Um, it's a lot. I know that I keep pausing, but it's a lot to talk about. It still affects me to this day. So it's hard to
we
sometimes
can
get it out. No, it's
we
fine.
can
I
move
don't
on.
mind talking about it, but it's
So
like,
so are you emotional? Like, do you feel like
I,
overwhelmed
yeah,
or like?
it can get emotional. So I have my moments.
No, no, it's fine. We don't have to stay on
That's
these
fine.
subjects. I'm just it's very interesting, and I can't help Shannon and I'm gonna say this because I just feel like I feel like I'm Christian, and
Mhm.
in my head right now, I can imagine what all the Christian people would be saying. What is
Yeah,
your perspective? Like, what are the sort of things people have said about you? What is like a common misconception that people might think about you?
that I am conjuring the conjuring up, spirits or playing with evil things and things like that. They think that it's like Satan's work, you know.
And what would you like? How would you like to reframe that misconception about you?
I would well, I just feel like everything is made up of energy
Yeah,
and it can't be created or destroyed. So when we go, where does that energy go? It doesn't mean it's evil if it sticks around for a little while. So I feel like I just feel like I'm a normal person. I feel like I'm normal. I don't feel like I have to explain to people if they
no, but
if
it's
they're
nice.
not.
I agree,
Yeah,
and I'm not asking you to explain. I
yeah.
think it's more like you're definitely a normal, nice person. At least in this conversation that we've had
Yeah,
so far, and I'd love like, ultimately what I'd love is to these misconceptions can have a different narrative. Do you know what I mean? Whether that's for you or other people out there which might experience similar things, and you never know. Maybe this brings identity
yeah.
to people that might not understand.
Right. And I don't mind. So where I was going with that was most people, if they have an idea that it's going to be a certain way, that I've learned doing this for so long that you're not going to change their mind unless they have an experience themselves. So that's why I don't really try to explain
Mm,
too much of myself to try and make them accept me for what I do.
yeah.
We might just be on two different planes. We could get along very well, but we don't have to agree on that subject. So, as far as if people were interested in learning more about it, I love to explain it. In that case, I do like to help people explore and learn. And then if they wanted to come along and investigate, we love that too. So,
Have you ever taken someone that is unsure whether they believe it on?
yeah.
I feel like I'd be super freaked out. What's their reaction?
They usually get freaked out
But what's like
because
how
something
freaked
will
out?
happen.
Like
Well, it depends on the person.
would they faint?
Some people will faint. Some people just get super clammy. They'll get quiet. Some people get sick.
Really? Like that physically like
Yeah, I
being
think
sick?
it's just from nerves that
Yeah.
they you know, and then they tend to a lot of times have experiences. Not saying everywhere we go is haunted and everywhere we go we have an experience, but when we are going and doing these certain places, they're usually places with known activities. So yeah, they're bound to have an experience.
You mentioned earlier about creating a scientific what's the word? I want to say solution, but I don't think you said the word solution. A scientific explanation. Maybe
Yes.
that's the better word to um, electromagnetic fields, did you say?
Yeah, electromagnetic fields, EMF.
I got it right. Perfect. Memory's still there. So,
You did very good.
um, explain that. Explain that. By the way, Shannon, this I'm not going to put this out. This is meant to come out on the 20th of December, but I think I'm going to try and put this out on Halloween because I think
Oh,
that'd be
that would be
quite.
so cool.
I think that'd be cool, wouldn't it? So I'm going to try and I'm going to try and do that, if not before. But yeah, apologies. Explain this EMF stuff.
So the Earth has a natural electromagnetic field of its
Yeah,
own.
yeah.
And then we have different various items that can create electromagnetic fields, microwaves, um, all wiring, Wi-Fi, all that kind of stuff can create electromagnetic field. And I feel like, especially now that we are moving into higher technology, there's more of that out there swirling around. So that might be also why there's a higher amount of paranormal claims being made. But we feel the theory is that a spirit can use that high EMF to manifest, or if it had already manifested and left, that it might leave that behind. So how would we do that? If there's a natural Earth's EMF and then we have other things, how are we to determine what would be paranormal? Well, we have different various equipments that do different types of EMF. And then you have a baseline.
What do these equipments look like?
You'll see, have you seen any of the TV shows like Ghost Hunters,
No.
or there's something called a K2 meter. So some of them have lights, so they would light up.
Okay. I think like almost looks like a bit like a walkie-talkie with a little aerial thing.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
And so, and most of them tend to light up.
Yeah.
Not all of them. We have a digital one that does not light up,
What does
but
that do?
it just reads that
Oh,
electromagnetic
okay,
field in the
okay,
air.
okay.
So, and then it has a range. So it's usually like 0 to 1 foot or 0 to 2 feet,
Oh
6 feet.
shit. So
So
when they
you
go
would
off, they're
know.
close.
Exactly. So you would know, then you would what we would do is try to determine, okay, is it coming from this area? So you go towards that area, you'll start low, work your way up. That's really how we have a baseline of it. So then if something does occur, that could be considered paranormal. If it hits that certain area outside of the base and
So is it
we can't find a
extremely
source
is it
for it.
extremely high?
Not always, not
Really?
always. So if the range on our K2 meter, it starts at 1 and it goes to 20 plus. So paranormal, I think it's around 2.5 milligauss
Do they make
to
noises, these little things?
some
Because
of them they do.
I've got this image in my head or visual in my head of like, do you know like the parking sensors as you're getting closer to something, it's like,
Mhm.
like, is it a bit like that?
We have something called a REM pod that'll do that.
Okay.
So the closer you get to it, the more it'll light up and the louder the sound will get. We have
That's
another
even
EMF
that's
detector,
even
which
scarier.
the cell sensor, that is the same. If you get closer to it, it lights up and it beeps. We have motion sensors that we use that play music. So if we're in another area, we can hear it go off. We have so much equipment. It would take me like 5 hours to go over each one.
Oh well. Yeah, we haven't got that sort of time. So
If you
um
wanted to check out their website, Long Island Paranormal Investigators.com, they have a list of their equipment on there. So you could see it all. And then they explain what it does.
yeah, I can do that. I'll put that in the link so people can
Oh, cool.
check that
Thanks.
out. So okay, is there like a YouTube? Have you guys got like a YouTube? Like,
They do have a YouTube. It's being worked on right now. It's also Long Island Paranormal Investigators. I think it's LI Paranormal Investigators.
and is this like, are you allowed to post stuff like this? This could be a really stupid question, but like, I'm just like, yeah, is this allowed? Like, are we allowed to be? Yeah.
So we don't post anything unless we have permission from a client. We wouldn't post any of our clients'
What do
stuff.
you mean, the client?
So we go to people's homes and businesses, but they might not want people to know that we're going there because
Okay.
sometimes some people still find it to be a little taboo, or maybe they just don't want it out there because they want to keep it private. So we have confidentiality forms that they would sign. So anything that Anybody doesn't want out there, we don't put out there. But for our own personal investigations that we do without clients, we do post that stuff up. We are allowed to post it.
Cool. And we're going to start to wrap this up now.
Okay.
What would you like to say? What's the message you'd like to leave people with? Whether it's about your book. By the way, I'll put the link. Anyone that's listening and interested in Shannon's book, I'm gonna leave the link for the book so you can buy that, both in the bio along with the Long Island Private Investigators link, so you can check out that. So, but Shannon,
Thank you.
whether it's a message about your book, whether it's a message about misconceptions, whether it's a message about whatever you feel is on your heart, on your mind, how would you like to leave it?
I would like to say, I know that the last few years have been hard on the entire world. And I think that everybody just needs to take a step back and breathe and try to come together as one unit and just give as much love, energy out there, because energy is everything. And if we keep feeding this negativity, it's just going to take us all over and we're all going to crumble. So let's just try and be positive. My book is about new beginnings. It's about acknowledging what had happened and trying to find the strength to move forward. This is just my first book, so it doesn't end here. It keeps going, and she does start to find her own self-worth, which is really, really important, and that's what I wanted for her. So that is basically my message. Find your self-worth, know that you're worth it, stay positive. If you dream it, you can achieve it. I am living proof of that. 2 years ago, I was laying in my bed and, here I am now with a book and I'm talking to you. So it's pretty cool stuff.
Thank you.
You're
Shannon, it's been a pleasure.
Yes.
As I said, all the links and everything's going to be in there. At the start of this podcast, I said this is going to come out at the end of the year. It's definitely not. This is going to come out around Halloween. I feel like that's relevant. Apologies if that's offensive, by the way, Shannon. I could be being completely
No, I
what's the
love
word?
it.
I could be being social signaling, when that's not the right thing, but it feels right.
No, it's right. It's the right thing to do.
Good. I'm glad. And look, if you're still here, you're still listening, I'm going to put Shannon's Instagram everywhere where you can find Shannon. You can purchase her book, look at the work that she does. And if you're still here, I just want to say thank you. Thanks for your time. You know what to do. Subscribe, leave comments, leave us a review. God bless you all for now. Stay positive. Keep loving the world. When the world treats you bad, treat the world better than it treats you. And for now, we'll see you next time.